The story begins as a young girl is left all alone after a group of goblins attack the carriage she was riding on. The goblins go to end her life as well, but a mysterious boy arrives to protect her. Years later, our protagonist named Laust is asked if he would like to join a girl's party, and everyone around is shocked to hear that the girl wants to team up with him. Laust is shocked himself, so the girl points out that his sign is clearly asking to recruit people to his party. This girl insists on joining him, and she declares that she is a martial artist. Laust introduces himself as sort of a healer, but an employee of the Adventurers Guild rushes to stop the girl from making the biggest mistake of her life. Her name is Amherst, and she warns the girl named Naru not to join Laust's party. Amherst reveals that this guy has been given the nickname the Incompetent Laust. He is a healer, but he only knows the beginner magic spell called Heal. He is a labyrinth orphan, and just like the rest of the parentless children, he grew up as an adventurer. However, even after all these years, Laust can't even use an area heal or a high heal spell. He is known by all as an absolute failure of a human being. Despite all this, Laust managed to join a party called Lightning Sword. That is until recently when he was kicked for not being able to use detoxification magic. Everyone knows how incompetent he is, so no one ever invites him to join their parties. Amherst warns that Naru will never be able to make any money if she parties up with Laust, but Naru reveals that she already has plenty of money. Amherst panics when she sees how much cash Naru is just carrying around, and she explains that most of the adventurers in this town are gangsters. Everyone looks pretty menacing, so Amherst tells Naru to never show such large amounts of money. Naru graciously thanks her, and Amherst can tell that she is pretty new to this whole adventuring thing. Amherst offers to introduce Naru to a nice beginner's party, but the little grifter says that she will have to charge Naru for her services. Naru surprisingly rejects the scammer because she has been wanting to join Laust's party for a really long time. Laust and Naru go to sign some papers to make their party official, and Naru stares a hole right through Laust's skull. She admires him a lot for some reason, and she's relieved to finally meet him again. The little weirdo is startled when Laust asks her to sign her name, but she gathers herself. Laust pays the guild fee, and their party is now official. Outside, Laust explains that no one has ever explored the deepest part of the Marmot Labyrinth. There are still many mysteries inside, and no one even knows who the final boss is. Many adventurers have dreams of finding vast riches inside, so they have gathered in Marmot City, making it one of the largest cities in the nation. Laust is a psychopath, as he wants to go to the labyrinth right this second, so Naru wonders if that's really okay, since they just formed their party a couple of hours ago. Also, before leaving, Amherst told Laust that he could only take Naru to the grasslands because she is still a novice. The labyrinth leaks magic power to a few places around it, and it causes monsters to spawn there. The grasslands are one of these places, but only weak monsters spawn there. It's the best place for beginners, but it's too big, and it's hard to find monsters. The labyrinth is the exact opposite as it's filled with monsters, and that's exactly what Laust is looking for. He assures Naru that they won't have any problems as long as they don't go too deep inside, and he can handle things if they get bad. Laust is strangely confident for a healer, but he says it's nothing, and they continue on. When they arrive, Naru insists on taking the lead. She is a martial artist, so it's only right for Laust to back her up from behind as the healer. Laust is happy with her confidence, but he wonders if she can really fight. Naru quickly proves herself as she beats down a group of goblins, and Laust is thoroughly impressed. He explains that the guild buys the magic stones dropped by the monsters, and that's how most adventurers make their living. The stones are valuable because they can be used for many things, but Laust points out that she should know this already, even as a beginner. Unfortunately, the magic stones of goblins aren't worth very much, so they will have to defeat more powerful monsters if they want to make the big bucks. The two agree to go deeper into the dungeon to earn more cash, and Naru vows to protect the weak healer if anything happens. Moments later, Laust is the one protecting Naru as he stops her from stepping on a trap. He shows her where her grave was just about to be, and he explains that he was able to save her because he noticed the different colored tiles. Finding traps is usually a thief's job, so Naru wonders how Laust was able to do it as a healer. Laust simply explains that he has been an adventurer for a really long time, so he has picked up a couple skills here and there. Deeper in the dungeon, the two spot a half-orc, but it shouldn't be at this level of the dungeon. Half-orcs are known as mid-level demons, and their robust bodies make them very difficult to beat. Their power is equal to monsters on the lower levels of the labyrinth, so they should never appear in the upper levels. Naru wonders if this is the time to run away, but Laos is confident that they can defeat it if they work together. Laos doesn't want to force her, but she surprisingly agrees as she trusts his judgment. Naru starts off the fight, but she is startled when her first attack makes her feel like she is kicking a brick wall. Luckily, the beast is pretty slow, but Naru still ends up taking some damage. The fight quickly goes bad for her as she is cornered, but the beast surprisingly isn't able to finish her off. Just then, Naru can only stare in amazement as she sees that Laos rescued her just in time by plunging his sword right into the orc's chest. Laos is glad to see that Naru is okay, but she can only wonder if Laos is really just a healer. Laos brushes the question off again and explains that his years of working as an adventurer have led to him learning a few close combat techniques. Naru says that his attack didn't seem like a simple technique, but Laos distracts her by pointing out that she is injured. Naru isn't too worried about it, but Laos is a healer through and through, so he knows that even the smallest wounds need proper treatment. Naru insists that she is okay, but Laos heals her anyway. The magic stone left by the orc is much bigger than the goblins, and it has way more magic power too. This means that it will be worth a pretty penny. Laos explains that he has seen what he wanted to see out of Naru in terms of her fighting ability. They have also earned a good amount of money, so they can head home now, but he leaves the decision to Naru. She says that she can still fight, so the two go on to do some more hunting. Afterwards, Amherst is amazed to see how many monsters they defeated in just one day. Amherst realizes that Laos must have taken the newbie to the labyrinth, and what's worse is that them having an orc stone means that he took her to the middle level. Laos corrects her by explaining that they only went to the upper level. The orc shouldn't have been there, but this matches up with what the other adventurers have been saying as well. The higher-ups have also been very busy recently, so Amherst thinks that something is happening in the labyrinth. Amherst's mood quickly changes as she is happy to pay them for their stones. Naru is weirded out by how excited she is, so Laos explains that guild employees get a pay raise when they buy magic stones. This is only true when it's the adventures they are responsible for, which means that the more they make, the more Amherst makes. Laos is shocked by how much the payout is, and Amherst has to remind him to split it with Naru. Laos would never forget, but he is surprised because even after splitting it, it's still 10 times more than he has ever earned. Laos goes into a deep depression when he realizes what this means. Amherst explains to Naru that he was just getting fooled when he was a member of the Lightning Sword Party, and they never gave him his fair share of the rewards. Naru is infuriated by this, so she demands that the guild do something. The decision is up to Laos, so he decides to just move on because he is happy with his new party and he wants to forget about the old one. The pair leaves, but a mysterious man watches them. Later, the greedy Amherst happily counts all her earnings, but she is startled by the man. Handsome is her boss, and he just hopes that Amherst didn't help Laos find a new party. Amherst explains that she doesn't have the overpowered convincing ability that it would take to convince someone to join Laos' party. Instead, there was just a girl that saw something special in Laos. Handsome seems to know who the blue-haired girl is, but it concerns him for some reason. That night, Laos is surprised to learn that the word of him having a new party member has already spread around the city. The incompetent Laos is pretty well known, so him finding a fool to join his party is a big deal. Laos prepares to reserve a room, and Naru is startled by the thought of sharing a room with Laos. Laos decides that they should sleep in separate rooms, but this seems to disappoint Naru. The two head to their rooms for the night, and Naru thinks back to when she was healed. It turns out that Naru was the girl in the carriage, and Laos was the guy who rescued her. She was thankful after he healed her, but Laos apologized for not being able to do more. Naru was strangely positive, even though I'm pretty sure that the goblins ended the lives of everyone else who must have been in the carriage. She didn't seem to care, and just vowed to become an adventurer. Naru wanted to join Laos' party one day, and she promised to protect him. Naru has been training very hard since then, and she has waited a long time to be with Laos. When she heard that Laos was kicked from his party, she immediately rushed to the city. The little stalker is pleased to see that her plan has worked perfectly. She formed a party with Laos, and they even defeated an orc. She is doing it all for him, so she becomes depressed when she thinks about how Laos didn't even recognize who she was. That's understandable since her appearance has changed so much, but that isn't all that has changed. Laos is much stronger than before, and he doesn't seem to need her protection. Naru snaps herself out of her depression and reminds herself that she promised to protect Laos no matter what. The remotivated Naru prepares for bed, but one thing still doesn't make sense to her. She can't figure out why people would call Laos incompetent when he is actually really powerful. A look back shows how Laos' old party was in really bad shape after getting wrecked by a fearsome dragon. Laos healed the girl, but he could not detoxify her ailments. He assured her that the poison would go away if she just rested for a bit, but this just upset the girl. The party began to fall apart because the leader needed them in the fight, but the girl was in no shape to battle. The group continued to argue because Laos told them that they would need antidotes, but they couldn't afford any. The leader called Laos a useless piece of trash, and he told their mage to attack with all the magic she had. Her fireball only infuriated the terrifying beast, so the leader became frustrated by how incompetent the entire team was. He realized that no one would be able to lead a group of losers, so he retreated while recommending that everyone else do the same. The mage immediately took off, and Laos helped the injured girl. Afterwards, Laos was kicked from the Lightning Sword party. He took all the blame for them failing to defeat the Hydra, and he was kicked for being a flawed healer. Laos pointed out that they actually failed because they were all partying the night before, but this just led to more arguing. The leader decided that the mage would choose who was at fault, but she was intimidated, and the blame was put on Laos. Back to the present, Laos wakes up and thinks about how that wasn't the first time something like this happened to him. 6 years ago, Laos' title as the most incompetent healer had already become well known. However, Laos never gave up on wanting to become a great adventurer. A party offered to let him join, so Laos eagerly accepted. Unfortunately, it turned out that they didn't need a healer at all. What they wanted was living bait to attract the attention of monsters. It's common for labyrinth orphans like Laos to be used as living bait, but he wasn't even good at that, and the party was eliminated. Laos always hated pain and despised death, but when he saw a young girl in danger, he put all that aside. Till this day, Laos isn't sure why he went to help her. He fought the goblins the best he could, but he eventually got knocked out. When he woke up, Laos realized that he was not the one that saved the girl. It was a group of knights, and this meant that he was still an incompetent person. However, this was not how the little girl saw things. She thanked Laos because if it wasn't for him, then they wouldn't have survived long enough for help to arrive. Laos healed her, but the girl was horrified to hear how poorly he was treated. Her sympathy made her cry for Laos, and she decided something. She vowed to become an adventurer herself so she could team up with Laos and protect him. The girl was from a noble family, which meant that she could never be an adventurer. Laos knew this well, but her words still encouraged him, and he decided to continue trying to become a great adventurer. He eventually found a teacher and started training. He only learned the most basic healing techniques, but he also acquired many other essential skills for adventurers. Eventually, Laos gained confidence that he had become a great adventurer, and this is when he joined the Lightning Sword. Laos credits the little girl because her words kept him from giving up on becoming an adventurer. He just thought about her now because he was thinking about giving up again after getting kicked from Lightning Sword. Laos is glad that he didn't give up though, because then he never would have met Naru. Just then, Naru comes to see him, and the two go to get breakfast. After that, they head to the labyrinth, where they plan to go even deeper. Inside, they arrive at a teleportation circle, and it's Naru's first time seeing one. Every labyrinth has one, and Naru wonders if it can send them anywhere. Unfortunately, Laos must tell the clueless girl that teleportation circles can only take them to other places with the teleportation circle. Naru thinks that teleportation circles should just be set up directly inside towns, but she realizes that this would just make it easier for monsters to attack people. Laos must correct her again, as he explains that monsters can't even use teleportation circles. The reason teleportation circles aren't in towns is because the skill required to create them was lost hundreds of years ago, and there is no one that can make new ones. The two use the teleportation circle, and they arrive in the middle level of the labyrinth. The monsters that appear here are very powerful, so they will have to be careful. They eventually run into some monsters, but Naru's attack doesn't work. Laos explains that it's because she is fighting a lynch and it doesn't actually have a physical form. It's a type of monster that transformed from a spirit, so physical attacks are ineffective against it. Monsters like this will be tricky for people like them who can't use magic, so he thinks they should run. Naru refuses though, because she is confident that she can defeat it. The two come up with a plan, so Laos gets the lynch's attention and lures it towards Naru. With extreme training, some humans can manipulate the power of ki in their bodies. Martial artists like Naru who have practiced for years are able to do this. This ki allows the user to even attack spirits like the lynch. Naru uses this technique and absolutely destroys the lynch. The two heroes celebrate, but Naru is hurt. Laos uses a magic tool that enhances healing effects, and he heals Naru. The magic stones found by adventurers eventually end up in the hands of craftsmen who turn them into magical tools. The lynch they just double-teamed has left a magic core, and Naru wonders how much it will sell for. When they return to the guild, Amherst is once again amazed and grateful for the stones that our pair have brought her. After receiving a surprising amount of money, the duo heads back into town. They stumble upon a large argument, and Laos explains that a lot of adventurers have been getting into altercations recently. Lots of troublemaking adventurers have been showing up, and it's starting to disturb the peace of the town. Laos determines that there's nothing they can do about it, so they should just splurge on a fancy meal. Their waitress wonders if Laos can really afford such an expensive meal, but he just tells her to pipe down and get him some beer. Naru wants to indulge as well, but a child waitress explains that they don't sell alcohol to minors. As they feast, Naru decides to ask about something she has been wondering. She saw a really tall structure in the town, but it has no entrance or windows. It doesn't look like a monument, and there are actually several in town. Laos doesn't know what they are either, but he did ask some of the townspeople before. The craftsmen told him that they are the ones building it, but not even they know what it is. What's even more strange is that no one knows who the client is that is paying for it. The blueprint for the structure and the payment was brought by an agent, and even behind that agent was another agent. There are a string of agents involved, which makes it very clear that the person behind it all does not want to be found. The structures aren't really bothering anyone, so the people don't really question it. Laos thinks that they should be making a city wall instead, but Naru likes the city better this way. Laos points out that they are vulnerable to an invasion, but Naru surprisingly says that there is no need for protection. There are more adventurers in this town than any she has ever seen before, so thieves and monsters would have no chance during an invasion. Later, the two head to sleep for the night. Naru wants to say something to Laos, but she ends up chickening out. Naru thinks about how she wanted to share a room with him, but she just can't get herself to tell him. Laos, meanwhile, thinks about how nice it is to be teamed up with someone. He wonders if the girl he met years ago will show up, but either way he credits her for helping him get this far as an adventurer. The next day, the leader of the Lightning Sword introduces a new healer to the team. The girl introduces herself, but the others aren't very enthusiastic. The leader is extremely positive though, and he declares that they will surely be able to defeat Hydra this time. Elsewhere, an ominous man is told that someone called the Sleeping Beauty is in a certain town. Handsome is the one giving this information, and he reveals that the Sleeping Beauty has teamed up with Laust. The man is concerned because they are running out of time, so Handsome must kick Laust out of the city immediately. Thanks for watching my recap, subscribe to the channel for more videos.